The last thing I'll leave you with, will be the shortest of all and perhaps the most obscure, is just a small retelling from the account of the arrival of the Tuatha De Danann in Ireland, which is a story in its long form that begins a lot of fairy stuff. And this is just well, if you weren't trying to publish it, you'd call it a poem.
Read slow.
All right, I'm reading it slow, Charles. Fallius, Gorius, Findius, Murius. Follow the route path, if you would meet the ever-living of Elfland, for they are still here, but well hidden. Once great warriors and gods, they have grown distant in the memory, hiding themselves away in the old songs and deep places under stone. They were great masters of magic, gods and not gods, for they do not die as we do, but keep a radiance and youth about them that does not fade with the passage of time. Their artisans were unmatched, fashioners of splendor, swords did not blunt, spear shafts warp nor armor yield. Their harps and harpers were the wonders of the wide world, and even a single note may still conjure all the hues of twilight. Their music weaves together all remembrance, valor, tragedy, bird song, moonlight on the dark strand, the longings of every age. And though I have heard their harpers play many times, at feast, at revel, and even from within the mounds themselves, never a note can I keep in memory. That is a strange, sad thing, and this is the first I have spoken of it. They are poets of great eloquence, and many tongues are known to them. Bird knowledge is their especial gift, and they brought that wisdom to these shores. They taught us what might be divined from the raven's varied calls. If the arrival of warrior guests or poet satirists is imminent, grack, grack, the bird will say. If women are coming, the call is long. Should a raven be heard from the northeast side of the house, thieves are stealing the horses. If its call is small, whispering, sickness will fall upon some member of the household. If they sing, karna, karna, grob, grob, coin, coin, wolves are coming. A raven that speaks from a high tree foretells the death of a young lord or knight. Once proud upon the plain of combat, their names are now the names of hollow places. They attend the earthlight and have become hill folk, the children of the mounds, a hidden people. Though many tales are yet told of their battles, and some words are yet whispered of their retreat into twilight, little is known of their origins. On this obscure and distant matter they will speak only 4 words: Fallius, Gorius, Findius, Murius. And these are spoken with such sadness that the unguarded heart will surely break at the sound of them. These are the names of the cities whence they came. Some folk may speculate further, but more than that is hearsay. Some say the 4 cities are in the north, some say in Greece. The ravens will give you as likely an answer as anyone else. I remember their arrival was attended by wonders. They came upon the eve of May in a shroud of air and light, a strange mist on the dark sea. Upon their landing, they looked back over their shoulders towards the water and began to weep. They were very tall and resplendent, golden-haired and bright-eyed, and it seemed that even the waves crashing to shore grew quiet when these folk mourned the world behind them. For 3 days they stood upon the strand, and for 3 days the sun was lost to us. When true night fell on the 3rd day, they set fire to their ships. It was then I knew they would never leave this land.
It's a Ray Bradbury short story title.
Really?
Dark Blue Wearing Golden Eye.
Oh.
Whose
Really?
poem is that? Who wrote that?
Who wrote that? Because you read lots of Irish.
I don't know.
What?
Never read it before.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. Have his lawyer call me.
Wait, so you wrote that? That's yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh, it's lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Thank you very much. But how do you begin to define the indefinable? How do you take something that has come to us in the form of Tinkerbell, which is fine, no disrespect to Tinkerbell, but this is such an indefinable category, always associated with memory and wonder in the past. Where do we begin to make sense of it? I'm sort of interested too, particularly in the difference as we now see it between fairy story and fairy tale. A lot of the things I know that, and we'll introduce everyone here in just a second. Let's start, actually. You can introduce yourself, Heidi Heiner, who maintains the unbelievably fantastic Sur la Lune Fairy Tales website, which you have not seen it yet. You must go and see this. I send all of my students, colleagues. It's the first and last stop, practically, on all things related to fairy tale. Yet in fairy tales, which are called fairy tales, often there are no fairies. But they share a frontier. Would you tell a little more about yourself? And we'll go down and have everybody introduced.
Well, you did it so well, Ari.
I'm sorry, I get very excited about your website. Heidi, I'm sorry.
Yes, I've been doing thank you. The very unusually named website, Sur la Lune, which that's a whole nother story. But it is a fairy tale website. Charles, okay, the short version of Sur la Lune is back when AOL was your access to internet. There weren't many screen names available, and I had a French minor and had given up astronomy, so On the Moon worked, and in French, and that was where I hosted the website originally, was on that space many, many years ago, and it became a brand, and I'm stuck with it. If I'd known better, I would have chosen an A name like Amazon. I mean, but I wasn't a very savvy person then. I was just fascinated with fairy tales. But anyway, back on. So I started annotating fairy tales, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And it's still there, still growing. I maintain a blog, and now I've started publishing books also. But it offers annotated fairy tales. There's 49 fairy tales on there annotated right now with variants from around the world, any that I can have or find, which is what fascinates me the most, is how we have the same stories across cultures and how they travel and stay the same but become very different. And that's really the focus of my life these days.
Forgive me if this is what books are you publishing?
I am publishing, actually, I have a bag. The upcoming one, this will be out in September. This is Sleeping Beauties, and it is filled with Sleeping Beauty and Snow White tales from around the world. There's 41 Snow Whites in there, and I've translated quite a few of them myself. It's actually, the way we know it from Disney and even from Grimm's, is not the most common version of Snow White. The Greek and Italian versions are much more interesting. And there's several in there that surprised me. I was never a Snow White fan until I did this book. I grew up with the Disney version, which was, the enemy to anything that I really liked about fairy tales. And one of my favorites that I stumbled across is Snow White actually shoots her mother. Actually, it's a mother one at the end. She pulls out a gun when everyone else refuses to punish her mother for all the torment. So she pulls out a gun and shoots her at the banquet. So anyway.
Draw that, Charles.
I already did. It's underneath.
And because there's 41 of them, I can show it to you afterwards. I can find it, but it has an Asian influence in it, and she actually gives her father a bride price to find himself a new wife with that after shooting her mother. So, but no, Snow White's not always singing about when her prince will come and waiting to be rescued. She takes care of business herself. Yes, I was at my desk reading it going, yes! Okay. Because I'd read so many, but I'd never read about that one until I started doing this book. But anyway, that's my exciting life. Is that enough?
That's a great introduction.
Okay.